these are very, very difficult times here in Anguilla. And while many people see the customs mainly as an enforcement and revenue collection arm of the government, and that is part of their function, the customs are also charged with the promotion of trade. And a lot of people don't realize that they're here to facilitate trade. And I'm sure that the comptroller will speak to that in many of his responses. So the whole idea of getting the membership at customs here today is not necessarily to bitch about that, to bitch about the other. It's to look for ways that we can facilitate trade, because trade is a major part of what the chamber is also concerned with, because that's what our members do for their livelihood. And just a piece of housekeeping here. Just want to let the membership know that on Friday morning, the board will be having a press conference at the chamber headquarters dealing with the issue of business licenses, which has become what I would describe an existential issue for many businesses here in Anguilla. You are welcome. It's not a very big place, but you are welcome. You'll probably make a great impression. But we're going to have some very tough things to say, because the chamber is an advocate for Anguilla businesses, and where they are threatened, we want to be in the forefront of that fight. So without much ado, I welcome Mr. Carter and his crew, and we're looking for solutions. We want them to hear what your concerns are, and maybe together we can come up with ways to better promote trade, so that it's for the benefit of everybody. So thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I wish to adopt regards to how we establish Farmer Deputy Governor, Mr. Stanley Lee, President of the Chamber of Commerce's Directors, General Membership, and my esteemed colleagues, Deputy Comptrollers, Assistant Comptroller, Customs Officer, Representative Factor. Good morning. This is a little different of our expectations of a roundtable conversation, but nevertheless, we are here, and it shows that we consider the Chamber of Commerce one of our key players, not only promoting economic activity, but enabling us to facilitate legitimate trade. Some of the things that we've been talking about this one, I wouldn't spend a lot of time here, because given the time constraints, we would like to have the floor open to a number of questions, and I have my esteemed panel to assist me along the way. So feel free to ask any question about any customs process or customs function, or any challenges that you may have, so we can try to make it better. I must say that I hope that this is not the last or the first of the our last time that we'll be here in the chamber, because we are inviting you to help us to be accountable to you and tell us what we are not doing, so we can assist you in the best way possible in getting your goods through the borders and to the shelves, to your shelves, because that too helps to promote economic activity. The next 4 years, the Customs Department Strategy and Vision for 2020, we'll be working on the theme, an interconnected approach to protecting our borders and facilitating legitimate trade through innovation and integrity, while helping our economy to grow. In the light of Vision 2020, we have not only realized, but we have acknowledged that this Chamber of Commerce and Business is a key stakeholder in helping us to execute our duties in facilitation of legitimate trade. We go back as 2010, where we developed, and I promised them that under the theme Customs and Business, improving performance through partnership. So you're beyond that of a stakeholder, your partners, because we can't do what we do to the best of our ability without your assistance. So in order to move forward, you have to help us to help you. During the Life of Vision 2020, we're going to see the increase in renewed efforts in stakeholder engagement. As I said, or alluded to earlier, I expect that at least 3 times or 4 times a year, that the Customs Department will get an invitation to come to speak to you, to tell us, so we can tell you what we are doing, what our initiatives will be for the upcoming year, the upcoming season. And that is the premise that drove me to contact Lily and said, Lily, I'm ready to speak to the chamber because we are going into a new season, and I would like them to know what to expect from us and what they expect from us in delivering our service. There's a number of new things that we began a conversation with our Ministry of Finance. Yes, I was looking for my PS. But he's not there. There are a few things that we have discussed, began discussion with our Ministry of Finance in order to improve business in our performance through partnership with relevance to the Chamber of Commerce and Business in Anguilla. Let me just run through them real quickly. In the coming weeks, we'll be introducing a platform, a Sale Clear RCS platform, regional clearance system. What this is a pre-arrival notification system, online system, that allows both small vessels and small crafts in yachts to report their arrival to Anguilla before they get here. So upon arrival, the time spent in the paperwork and the processing at the customs marine base will be limited. Probably just a presentation of themselves and the registration number for the vessel. That's basically it. We'll be encouraging all agents of small craft vessels to use the platform, which can be found on SailClear, www.sailclear.com, where you can register your vessels, you can enter all the data for passengers, crew, stores on board that's arriving, and you can submit that to the Customs Department before you get here. So it allows for a planned trip, and it allows for speed clearance from the customs process at the marine base. The next initiative that we began speaking about sometime last year is a trusted trader program. We have realized that with our limited resources, and we have a staff of 58, I'm looking at the document, yes, we have a staff of 58, inclusive of our secretary to the Controller of Customs. We have about 15 stations, inclusive of ports and sections to man. So at times, it's very difficult in given the demands of trade here in Anguilla to execute. But nevertheless, as with information, once we are aware in advance of your requests, we always try our best to facilitate you and assist you, because we not only understand, but we know that the importance of you getting your goods, our services, through the borders and getting it to our shores. And as a key player, we pledge to continue to work with you to do the best we can with our available, limited and available resources. The Trusted Trader Program, let me explain a little. The Authorized Economic Operator, what this is a relationship, a trusted relationship between the Customs Department and the business. This will establish the immediate release of control systems based on advance submission of prescribed data and post-entry audit. All I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, that when your goods get to Anguilla, if you are a trusted partner or authorized economic operator with the Customs Department, when your goods get to the border, they will be cleared upon arrival. That is what the objective, and that is what we are aiming to. But this doesn't come without some checks and balances. As I will continue saying, help us to help you. Advanced information, this is where we're going to ask of you to familiarize yourself make confidence with your suppliers, your supply chain, and provide the relevant information and documents in advance to the Customs Department so we can make the checks before your goods get here. In the event that that's not possible, we are also going to ask you to open your doors so we can come and check those documents after the goods has been cleared through the Customs Department. So it's a win-win situation for both of us. We won't have to deal with a cluster warehouse, and you don't have to wait for 2 to 3 days to have your goods cleared to the customs at the bottom. We all have an obligation with Customs Law, the Customs Act, the revised statute, Anguilla Cap 169, under Section 143. It's called record retention. See, what the law provokes is that you have an obligation just as much as we do. The law asks you, can you please hold your records for at least 5 years? So to allow this process and this program to be a success, we're asking that you acknowledge Section 143 of the law and hold your records for at least 5 years. Because it's not going to be in every instance where you have a shipment come in today, Tuesday, and it's cleared through the bar, we're going to come on Wednesday morning. No, that's not practical. And we don't want that view also. So it may be somewhere down the road, maybe the end of the year, maybe 2 years down, we say, what about the shipment you had in August of 2012 or 2000, just for hypothetical saying. We expect that when we get to your company, our business, you will have the relevant data so we can back check and verify that the customs controls were adhered to and the legislation, and there was no breach of the Customs Act. I know it may seem difficult that some small businesses might claim we don't have the space to hold old files, everything is electronic now, and all those stuff. But what we are doing in the coming weeks, we have established a questionnaire that we will submit to our businesses, asking of you to tell us who you are, tell us the type of business that you are, tell us the suppliers, your main suppliers that you deal with, tell us your main carrier, give us your location, give us the accounting system that you use, the filing system that you use, so we can have the information in advance, and we can, we can address you, though you're large, we'll be trying to segment our businesses so we can address your every need. So that's another approach that we're looking at, segmentation of our businesses. So, because we understand that there may be a service industry, those needs will be totally different than a grocery store. So what we're trying to do is to capture information, to create a database so we can respond intelligently to the needs of the specific demographic or the specific group. So you too could be a part of a trusted trader program, and you too could feel that the customs service is attending to your needs, your every need. So that is one of the things that we're going to need to ask of you in terms of your assistance. Keep your records at hand. So when we do come with the program, you come back to the chamber to Ms. Lily. We'll submit the questionnaire to Ms. Lily, and she will circulate that. Have them come back to the Customs Department so we can begin the process. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in a few weeks, but at least we have begun the first step. Another area I want to speak about is the ACOCI world. We have been having some challenges since the implementation of ACOCI world. And those of you who are familiar with ACOCI world, as the name entails, it's a world-class system. It is used in over 192 countries in the world, even in Afghanistan, where trade facilitation, it's a trade facilitation system, where it makes the ease of doing business with the Customs Department much easier. Some of our challenges rest with the maintenance of our platform with regards to development of new modules and to allow you in 2016 to submit electronic payments. So I'm happy to say today that one of our initiatives and one of our top priorities is to bring to the platform electronic payments, prepayment accounts, and credit card payments to be accepted at our customs ports and stations. We have already begun the conversation with our National Commercial Bank of Anguilla, I got it correctly. The NCBA, we began conversations with the Scotia Bank because we're looking for the best option. So sometime throughout the latter part of this quarter, on Monday, on Monday we have a meeting with the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, where we have a conference, and the tune that we sung is that of electronic payments and credit card payments. And the question we asked is why we're not doing it in the Customs Department in Anguilla yet, but over from, because the Customs Department is on its way to do that. Another development with the ACOCI Award in 2017, January 2017, around the end of January, when we are celebrating World Customs Day, we're going to ask for our businesses to come into the Customs Department to refamiliarize yourself with the customs process and reintroduce yourself to the Customs Department. Somewhat to put a name to a face. So our users on ACOCI Award, we're going to ask you to come in to ensure that you are still and continue to be a legitimate business. And as we foster a more closer relationship with the Chamber of Commerce, we have another conversation as to how we're going to move forward in terms of businesses. And that's one of the things, that's one of the hallmarks of our Trusted Trader program. As I read Mr. Lake's address, I think it was this year, there's some things that jumped out at us. And it spoke about membership. So the Trusted Trader program from the Customs Department will be open to members of the Chamber of Commerce in the first instance. So if you're not a member of the Chamber, I would encourage you to become a member of the Chamber of Commerce so you can get the opportunities afforded to the Chamber and facilitation of trade and get your goods involved. So that's an appeal to your members. There has to be an opportunity, so we'll be working with the Chamber. Next on the discussion we're going to have is that of our examination station. As I said earlier, we have many challenges with our resources, and some of those resources include our mobility in terms of vehicles. Monthly, sometimes we have over 60 container arrivals to Anguilla. We have established a cargo control unit, which is a dedicated unit addressed and attend to container movement throughout Anguilla in hopes and efforts to ensure that the goods are delivered in a timely manner. We are struggling, I must admit, because of our mobility. We have how many functional vehicles in the Customs Department? We have what? Two fully functional vehicles in the Customs Department. It's two fully functional vehicles in the Customs Department. And so at times it's very difficult to attend to your needs in terms of delivering the cargo and the containers are at your store. I must commend publicly the customs officers who attend to the government of Anguilla's business in their personal vehicles. When the time comes where either our vehicles are at servicing or they break down, the officers do attend to examination sites in their personal vehicles, and I must commend them for that. It goes to show that we understand trade and we are doing our best, the best that we can to ensure that we facilitate legitimate trade here in Anguilla. Because if trade is not upkept, the economy in general suffers. So with that, we have had discussions about the examination station, which means that we are about to speak to our ministry again about this topic, to have an area dedicated for the stuffing of containers. I'm fully aware that some of the cries from the business community would be an increase in trucking of the goods from that site to their company, or their home, or wherever the case may be. But please reflect on our Trusted Trader program and our risk assessment. We don't intend to examine every container that comes to Anguilla because one, it's practically impossible, and two, we want the goods to get through the border and to the shelves as quickly as possible. So based on our risk management strategies, not every container, only those containers that will be dubbed as high risk will go to this examination station to be destuffed by the Customs Department. We are hoping, I know the deputies are always on my back with this one, we are hoping that when, in not too distant future, when containers arrive in Anguilla and it's cleared at the port of Road Bay, that means you can go and begin to destuff your container because the authority will be given at the port of Road Bay for full clearance of clearing your goods. So there will be no appointments with the Customs Department. You get your clearance at the port of entry, and that's a big deal, ladies and gentlemen. So the examination station is an area where we look at only the containers that pose a risk, a high risk to Anguilla, because part of our job in facilitating legitimate trade will be that of protecting society. So recent developments has led to further inspection of food and perishable products. As some products that comes to Anguilla, I don't have the word for it, but it's not fit for human consumption. And part of the work of the Customs Department is to ensure that we protect society for our food supply from illicit drugs and firearms and the like. So with this, we've engaged with the Department of Health, where upon clearing your container for meat products and different products, we will notify them in advance so an inspection can be done on those products. There are a number of inferior products that's coming to the island, and if you are aware of persons engaged in this practice, please feel free to call myself, 264-235-6715, or any officer of your choice, or the deputies are 264-235-6514 and 235-6216. Because this is alarming and it's a serious concern for Anguilla, where some products are not fit for human consumption. We recently had some stuff sent off to Brass University to be tested. I won't go in further detail, but what we have seen in the last 2 weeks in this country, in terms of the quality of products imported, is scary. It's scary. So whilst we are facilitating legitimate trade, remember that we have an obligation by law to also protect society from these goods or illegal goods, firearms and ammunition, and food unfit for human consumption. It baffles me.
Are these people reported, prosecuted, licenses revoked?
Based on our findings, we're still waiting on the findings of the lab. So based on that, we can only try to agitate and influence the decision makers to ensure that the necessary steps are taken to ensure that persons engaged in this kind of activity are dealt with to the full extent of the law. And it's always baffling me to speak about it, because knowing is one thing, but when we actually experienced it.
The company is still making money as we speak.
Yes. Yes, unfortunately. But these are some of the things, the concerns that we generally have as a Customs Department. So when an officer comes to inspect your goods, it's not that he wants to harass you. He's just making his checks, making his or her checks to ensure that we are in compliance, and that we are ensuring that we protect our society. Because the same goods that we clear through the borders can eventually reach our homes. And that is the concern that we have at the Customs Department. at the end of the day, we are only people helping people. And the officers that do the inspections, they're only doing their job in the best interest of the country, in the best interest of all of us. Because, well, the reality struck last week where I had a number of officers, was baffled of what they found. And myself was getting so much struck. I went over immediately and I took some of the same products. And I said, boy, these things hit closer to home than I expected. But we are trying our best to stamp out this kind of behavior, and I think this is one of the things that I said I would like to address with the members this morning, because we are engaged in the same business. And again, I'm making a plea. If you are aware of persons engaged in any legal activity in terms of female products, guns and firearms, please feel free to contact myself or any officer of the Customs Department. And it's at a more alarming plea, more now so ever than before. We had some serious times, ladies and gentlemen, and while it's facilitating trade, we have to ensure that the security measures are met. Terrorism is more real to Anguilla than before, at any time in the past. We have a number of products that come to Anguilla, even down to hydrogen peroxide, where persons importing, the FCO office has access to report persons importing these products. Probably have more than 2 or 4 cases. A large amount in cases to be of persons of interest as to the product is used in the region now to make homemade bombs and everything. So terrorism to Anguilla is more real than any time before. In the conversation I'm having now, there was a debate as to if to mention these things or not mention these things, but the reality is, it's here, ladies and gentlemen, and all part of facilitating trade, these checks will have to be made. So help us to help you. That's why I keep alluding to the fact that know your supplier, be confident in the supply chain, your carrier, demand more from your suppliers and exporters, demand your original documents. All these things will form part of the cycle. Let the Customs Department do the work for you behind the scenes to ensure that when the goods get here, they can get to your store as quickly as possible. Another initiative coming up in the season, an ongoing initiative, but something that we have dubbed and deemed necessary. We are now looking at officers and form a task force. We have a number of guests that come to Anguilla, and our ports, the logistics of our ports don't always allow us to do the proper checks or thorough screening, whatever it may be. So we have formed a task force. So persons in the service industry, concierge and different persons of such, can make a request in advance to us to have us send officers to a site, which means persons with large groups, with over 30, 40 persons, come for a workshop, conference, whatever the situation may be, and whatever they're bringing with them. Once we know in advance, this group is coming to Anguilla on this set date, they'll be having whatever trinkets and whatever else with them. Once we know in advance, the task force will be formed, and they will deal with the agent or whoever and see if it's necessary for the examination. If not, they will make an appearance to the site to do 1 or 2 checks. Right? Because we want to get persons through the border fast. That's clearance times at all fronts. It's very crucial to the Customs Department. So that's another initiative that we're working on to ensure that all our peers and all our stakeholders are well taken care of. Exemptions. We have realized that a number of companies will apply and will continue to apply and be granted an exemptions. Over the years, it has been an area where we have paid somewhat, not to the maximum potential of attention, but going forward, and we had discussions from probably a couple of years ago, we have dedicated a team, and our team is probably of 2 persons thus far, to look at exemptions and monitor your exemptions from the time of your application through to approval at the House of Assembly, and dubbed as the Approval and Takings Unit. What this means, that persons that have applied for an exemption has been granted an exemption, there's a high possibility that you will be contacted by the Customs Department to ensure that the regulations in which the conditions in which the exemption was granted, that you are adhering to it. It will not be a phone call in every instance. Sometimes officers may show up and just ask a question or two. So I'm seeking your cooperation and such, because those are the kind of instances that will allow us to do it better and allow us to capture enough data so we can only improve on the service that we deliver. So the exemptions process, through the approval and takings, person that has been granted an exemption, you can expect a call from the Customs Department, not necessarily the controller or his immediate management team, but an officer in the approval and takings unit, just asking a question or two in terms of the quantum of goods, the type of goods that will be important, the quantum of goods in those kind of instances. So your cooperation in that instance is done necessary. One of the processes for the exemption is that we verify due to loss. The due to loss is simply a sheet where the name, the description of the goods, the quantity of the goods, and the rate at which it is applied to the tariff and our HS code, the commodity code, will be applied to that good. So we can report or advise or try to agitate the decision makers as to this person is bringing in X, Y, Z. These products are normally, in that type of way, it's not a long lengthy process, but without it, it delays the process. So your customs brokers, please demand more from the customs brokers. They have a responsibility to you in terms of clearing your goods on your behalf. So demand that the work that they produce on your behalf is to the best standard. Because too often in the department, we spend a lot of time correcting the work of the customs broker. When my staff has now came to me and said, Carter, we are not customs brokers. And going into 2017, it'll be unfair for me to ask of them to continue to correct the work of the customs broker, given the fact customs brokers said it anyhow, the customs department will correct it. That will be no more. And that will cause delays in the delivery of the goods. And that is be counterproductive to why we have ACOCI World. Because ACOCI World allows for direct trader input, which means the onus of clearing the goods rests with you, the business person, rests with the customs broker. When your declaration is ready, you proceed directly to the customs department for payment. And with our initiative of moving towards electronic payments and prepayments and different credit card payments, you will eventually pay online and proceed to the station with a confirmation that the goods have been paid for your whatever means, electronic means, in the not so far future. So demand more from your customs broker and show that they are doing the best they can on your behalf, because most of our delays comes down to the classification of goods, classification of tariff and commodity codes. That's the international language of trade. Without it, your goods cannot be cleared.
Are you saying that if we use ACOCI, you will avoid those kinds of issues?
Well, ACOCI is the medium of choice, is the mandatory platform that we use in customs. What I'm saying is that the customs brokers need to
Put in the right code.
yes, classify the goods correctly to allow the customs department to clear the goods, to allow the system, the ACOCI World platform, to automatically process your declaration. Because there's step gaps in the system with the criterions and risk management selectivity that tells us that these goods were not correctly classified. You can't clear a pen under Chapter 39. 39 deals with plastics, and 96 deals with plastic.
Apart from that, it said the obligation of the importer, the broker, to ensure that the declaration is properly made. Any errors made are to be corrected by the broker and not the customs officer, because there are legal implications to be had. When an entry is corrected by an officer, if for whatever reason there is cause to go further with that entry made, an entry that's under investigation, we are then hindered and we cannot proceed to take the matter to court. Mr. Lake would just laugh at us, and Mr. Reed in the back, they would laugh at us because the officers then writing is not expected to be there. Broker has an obligation, you as an importer, you're paying them, and you're expected to fulfill your obligation.
That's correct, and as you said, Mr. Reed, I must give him kudos because he's walked to be over the years and ensuring that we follow our due diligence in the whole process of the customs function. Because if we miss to be to stand there and say that it's easy, it's not easy. And our mission, vision, is to bring not only business completely up to speed in terms of international trade standards, but to ensure that we hold each other accountable and we be transparent in facilitating legitimate trade. So even in the instances or practices that you are aware of that shouldn't be in your instance, please contact me at the Customs Department, and we'll do our best, our move towards making sure that that's minimized, if not fully eradicated.
Is there a way that the broker can measure the tariffs on table? So when they put them in the system, like if the pen is in the wrong tariff, is there a way that broker will know that they mistakenly put it in the wrong tariff?
That's a better correctly?
Yeah.
Yes, because one of the criteria for classifying goods is that to be a customs broker, because that's a question that's been around. I must address that. Since the implementation of ACOCI World, there are a number of persons that have made application to the Customs Department and indicating to us, I want to be a customs broker. And normally, our first question would be, do you understand international trade? Do you understand trade? No, but I'm a quick learner. I can go on system and key in the right data. And with that temperament, there's a number of consequences for such behaviors. Because words that the broker might not be aware of a certain commodity, there's always a recourse. You can contact the Customs Department. Where do I classify a pen? Where do I classify an XYZ? But we have found recently to address this matter also. We have dubbed the Assistant Controller of Customs something called a classification expert. So which means you can contact the Customs Department and you inquire about the classification. You be put on to the Assistant Controller and Officer who would assist you. Part of being a customs broker is understanding international trade. Part of understanding international trade is understanding the rules of trade, the rules of classification. And the rules of classification speaks to the material that is used to make the product. A pen in Anguilla is classified the same as a pen in China, Afghanistan, and the US. It's a mechanism that was adopted by the World Trade Organization and the World Customs Organization many, many decades ago. And we are part of the world, ladies and gentlemen. And the tariff is not going to change overnight. And if we, well, I can't say, but no authority that comes in terms of government, and if I'm the controller, I would not encourage them to make those types of changes to the tariff, because persons have also suggested that the tariff is too complex, it is too large, and we have 90, how much? 96 to 99 chapters, somewhere around there.
Any coding system won't change.
Coding system won't change.
Tariffs are locally set.
Tariffs is the rate of duty actually.
Right, but the coding system, the harmonized coding system is universal.
Any idea when we'll be able to, for instance, enhance the Cascula system? Can we suggest to anybody that we can, we want to have it changed?
Well-
Because, I mean, in this day and age, if I type in pen on Google, I can get pen with ink, So, I mean, it's about speed and accuracy at the same time. That's what I believe. So, if I have a second guess, I have to go back in, double check. I might not even still classify it on the way it's supposed to go. If I'm satisfied with what I think it is, I put it in, it goes up, and officer say, Terry, you have a posted trade to deal with. So it's a matter of opinion still, and it's time consuming.
There are two things there. Again, you need to know what you're reporting, that's one. Hopefully you know what you're reporting.
Well-
Secondly, a lot of the trade now is also done, the exporters themselves try to qualify the commodities when they are sending an inventory report. So it's not a matter of just you keying in and you've seen a whole bunch of other
I understand that totally.
Yeah, come in, but what I'm saying is, if you don't know, then it's gonna be down to the point of imputation and at the point of examination.
Right.
Because you're telling us you have one thing, and when it's about customs is a civil, customs work on the premise of declaration and verification. As an importer, you make a declaration stating what you have. The role of the officer is to verify what you have said, whether it's correct, to verify your declaration. If it isn't correct, then you'll be told so.
Yeah, but then you can't tell me that we are telling you that you're a broker, you're gonna fix it anyway. You understand what I'm saying? I can't, for instance, I work in Cuisinart, we have a Tokyo-based restaurant. A lot of the products are, Chinese, Japanese products, whatever the case may be. Sometimes it's difficult, I can assume, okay, this is seaweed, and, going forward.
If the obligation rests with whom?
Yeah, but then when I bring it to you, you can't
The
tell
obligation,
me.
Mr. Rizal, rests with the importer.
I understand, but when I bring it to
cannot
you,
shift
and you correct it.
obligations. We cannot shift obligations. You have a rule, and your obligation, first of all, is to know what it is that you're importing.
Okay, let me just before, because we are wrapping up so you can go to the final question and answer what we came for. That's what we came for. I just want to close off. Right, speaking of. So I just speak about evasion of customs duty under invoicing. That's another real practice that's happening in Anguilla. That's another, but we have spent most of this year looking into these instances, and we do have one or two success stories where we have identified invoicing and we have brought those persons to justice. So I'm going to ask that desist from such practice, and we have to realize that in today's world of trade, international trade, even with the assistance of the customs broker, invoicing now from the US, I've seen a couple, and from the UK, I've seen a couple. The invoices, the onus of ensuring that the Customs Department, the US Department of Commerce, understand the product. Who better understand the product than the supplier or the manufacturer? So the onus rests with the manufacturer that when they are invoicing or documenting these goods, they have to ensure that the goods are correctly classified. So when it comes to the Customs Department, the HS code, and some of the invoices you will see it, for equipment in particular.
Some companies
do, you will see it, that the HS code for this product is 96, 96, whatever the case may be. That hints to the Customs Department that this product has been made by this company, so this company is more aware of what the materials are, the work, are the intended use of this product. And it's suggested that it's classified here. As the Deputy Controller said, a big part of our job is a declaration made to us and verification done by the department. So trade is moving in that direction, where invoices are supplemented, are complemented with the HS code and chapters on the invoice. So it's more real to us than anything else in the world, and all that deals with under invoicing. So some instances, where an invoice comes from a particular company or exporter or whomever, the standard of invoices doesn't change. It don't change. So with the standard, we contact the company and we ask the company to produce an invoice for the same product. Because I must remind you that given the BDV, the Brussels definition of value in Anguilla, in section 79 of the Customs Act complements it, relationships don't affect the value. Let me repeat. The relationship with your exporter don't affect the value. It will affect your cost. But the value we speak of is the availability for that product on the open market to our. So that's the premise in which we do valuation in Anguilla. To this date, we haven't been so bad in that. We are very understanding department, I must say. I must say, we haven't been too bad with that. But the relationship with your supplier don't affect the value of the product. So I'm going to move, before I move over to...
I just wish you would explain to the membership the concept of cost and the concept of value and price.
Price was
Exactly. Price versus value. Okay. Price, the cost of the goods is a transaction value and cost of the product in which you pay the company or the supplier because you, for instance, you make a deal and you say it costs $50. You say, man, I buy 5 or 6 items or 10 pallets. Can I get it for $10? I promise you repeat business. The supplier or the boss might say, you know what? Yes, I will give it to you because you're buying from me again. So the cost of your goods is driven by a relationship that you just got with the supplier to get a reduced cost of the goods. Special consideration to give it to you. But if me, Travis Scotty, can't get that same price, that is not the value of the item. The value of the item on the open market requires that it has to be available to everybody. So
you charge
You-
from the value?
And customs
You
charge
charge profit.
and customs
Charge.
charge based on the value of the good.
Not only the value, I think Mr. Dar would have made a difference. There are two systems of value, there are two bases of valuation within the trading world. One is, which you referred to earlier, which is known as the Brussels definition of value, which is the cost, insurance, and freight. And that involves all costs related to the arrival of the goods to the place of entry. Any cost that it may have incurred. The other valuation method which is used, and used more recently, the World Trade Organization is really demanding of countries that go into that direction, is the GATT valuation, the General Agreement on Tariff and Trade. And that valuation system, you pay duty on price paid. So if I were to pay you, whatever I paid you, the seller, for the goods, then the duties get collected on that. Fortunately or unfortunately, in our case here in Anguilla, we are still at a stage where we are using and bound by legislation the Brussels definition of value.
What if you're a wholesaler reselling the product? The cost in the open market is the retail price.
Once
You're bringing a product in to resell, you're not going to pay the open price in the market.
We are also aware of the different chains in the trade. Yes, we know that you have wholesalers, we know you have the manufacturing price, and we know.
The
So it's at what
wholesale
level you are
open market
purchasing
price
at, right?
is what you'd list.
Once we are aware as to which level you are within that trade pattern, then yes, the duties will be, so if you're a wholesaler purchasing as a wholesaler, yes, the duties will be computed on that basis, of course.
But
I will just hold your questions and let Mr. Carter finish. We have the questions.
part of the our strategy for 2020 is to write a case, a business case to the government of Anguilla to move the department to becoming a member of the World Customs Organization. The benefit of this will be valuation systems, technical assistance, to basically bring us in line with the rest of the world. Because believe it or not, we are part of the world. In 2017, last weeks, before we go to take the questions, Customs Department, we have engaged the Anguilla Community College and established and built a training program for customs officers and stakeholders and customs brokers alike. But this does, we believe that through the community college system, it will inform businesses and business stakeholders alike what the customs process is like, and so you can have an understanding when an officer shows up to your company, what he or she is doing, what he or she is doing exemptions, examinations, and different stuff like that. This program, we are hoping to extend it to the Chamber of Commerce. Not next year, we have to get the first quite naturally, the Customs Department. We are hoping to extend it to the Chamber, members of the Chamber of Commerce, and use in future as a qualifying course for customs brokers. The business of a customs broker is critical to facilitating trade. If the broker don't get it right, there will be delays. Because the owners, as I said earlier, of clearing goods rest with you, the businesses, and facilitate the customs broker. And trade statistics. That is another element of what is so crucial to get the right product classified with the right commodity code. We collect all trade statistics for Anguilla that governments use to make best decisions that they possibly can, and that any stakeholder, even the Chamber of Commerce, schools, whomever it may be, can from time to time request certain data, aspects of data, from the Customs Department or through the Statistics Department as to a type of product that was imported and traffic moving through the borders. As the world captures this. But out of the integrity of the data to be reliable, the customs broker must declare and we have the correct products. It's humanly impossible for the Customs Department to examine each and every declaration that's registered on that school world. So with our risk management systems and selectivity engines, we are relying on the customs brokers to ensure that the goods are correctly classified and the trade data will be as reliable as possible. I'm going to have a seat now.
Well, before we go into the question, one is to say that the face of customs is changing and will continue to change. And one of the things that Mr. Khalid did not mention, very critical, I'm sure most persons here are aware of it, that the government of Anguilla has decided or is looking seriously into moving into other means of collecting revenue, and one of those is going to impact on the Customs Department in the future, and maybe as early as 2018 if it comes into being, where the possibility or probability of the introduction of a sales tax may come into being. And that's going to impact. And I'm just setting that for what's going to come in terms of the question. The second one, straight on to my good friend over there, when she heard of the examination of large groups. But there's been a new initiative, a new development. Most persons, again, I believe, are aware of what's happening in Blowing Point. And that is the road that we're looking to go down. We got to be also cognizant of the fact that with this new facility coming into being, it's going to change the whole outlook and the whole experience of persons entering the island, and there may not be then the need for that. Thank you very much.
I failed to mention our newest initiative, the implementation of a canine unit. And that we just started that unit last week, and the deputy reminded me that I didn't make mention of it. The canine unit would serve as a factor, an element, critical unit in the department. We have single-purpose canines, names Tika and Siri. They are charged with the responsibility of protecting our borders from either import of illicit drugs, firearms, ammunition. And I must say that in the past month, I must also say within the past month, we have detained and seized about 6 shipments of controlled drugs, counterfeit drugs from persons importing into Anguilla, which is another real concern, which drove us to speaking with the head pharmacist at the Health Authority of Anguilla. So we are on the drive to ensure that we protect you guys, because some of these drugs are administered throughout the island and reach places where they shouldn't reach. So we have intercepted 5 shipments within the last month, and with the introduction of our K9 unit, we are hoping that we can deter this factor, if not totally eradicate. But remember, we are people and we are working in your best interest. So we'll take our questions now and hope that we can answer to the best of our ability.
Just a quick question, Mr. Carter. You mentioned food stuff that came in that was quite accurate. You didn't go into depth, but are these businesses really aware of what you're doing? You said you were told me throughout some stuff. What should we do? What are some of these products that we need to be made aware of that we should go home and look into?
Well, I can't at this time speak further into the matter because it's under investigation. But some of the items, I can only say as a civilian that when we go to the stores, we always make checks and read the labels on the back. I think that's something that comes with the training of a customs officer, because the contents of the goods, even on the bottom, the labels, we check and we read to make sure what these stuff contain, are said to contain, is actually what it is. So always check your labels. Under the CITES Convention, which is the Convention of International Trade of Endangered Species, of which the Deputy Comptroller, Mr. Francisco, is head of that in the Customs Department, it speaks to labels. So another initiative that we have tasked is that if the products are coming to Anguilla and they're not labeled in the national language of Anguilla, some of us call it English, but we call it Anguillian. But if it's not in English, those goods won't be delivered to you. So ensure that the labels the goods are correctly labeled. So you have a responsibility, and we all have a responsibility to ensure that the service of the goods that we are paying for, or that we are bringing to Anguilla, that is the true product, and not anything inferior. And you can bring it to our attention. If you go to a grocery store and you see a product, you can bring it to our attention. We will contact our stakeholders, the Department of Environment and the Health Department, and we'll take a look at it. But labels, always read the labels on your product.
Raise and grow your own.
That's another element.
I have a question about cost, actual money paid.
It's trying to get the mic working, but it's not. So, please stand up.
I had a question that arose from what you mentioned about cost, actual money paid for goods, and evaluation of those goods. It seemed to me like valuation would come into effect if somebody could not show or prove what they paid for merchandise. Because merchandise goes on sale throughout the world every day. And I can give you a perfect example. I had a call when I was in the United States doing some import and exportation for 60,000 pairs of jeans at $2 a pair. If I brought them into Anguilla, would you accept my invoice for jeans at $2 a pair?
That's what we said. We're not dumb to the world of the fact that there's sales happening, because in next month, we know that there's Black Friday, we know there's Thanksgiving sale. But what we are saying is that once the sale is available to everybody, where I can log on to a website and see I can get these jeans for $2 too. So once the sale is available to everybody, and that forces us to hold up our relationship,
I'm sure if the sale has already gone, how would you know?
Pardon?
How would you know it was available to everybody? That's what I'm saying, because this is after the fact.
The President will just say historical data will assist us, plus you can assist yourself, especially if you're going online, you know that you're going to be coming on customs. Do the printing before. Do the necessary printing before, and it's just a matter of us looking at it and saying, okay, this is authentic, right, and knowing it, or if there are newspaper ads and whatever else, that can assist. You know, because what we have is a situation where we are in the world where we know that there is discounting, and to just say that, okay, because there are jeans at $2 per pair that we won't accept, it's not just that we're going to look at the low value and make that determination and say that it must go. And on the other hand, we are quite aware that there are persons who continue to engage in the whole system of under-invoicing. So there is a challenge for us, and there are times we don't get it correct yet.
My question is association. We'll also take into consideration the fact whether you're retail or wholesale into that process as well.
Okay, well, I'm not sure what that has to do with anything. If I said I bought a car for $500 and I can give you an invoice, I mean, when I bring this car here, are you going to say, no, it's worth $5,000? What does that have to do with them? A retailer or wholesaler? So like,
quite naturally, the wholesalers receive better prices than a retailer.
I can buy something at auction. So the public.
The auction, always, yeah, it's good that you brought up the car, because that's the one that poses the most challenge to us at that. Yes, we are aware the auctions which go on, and we are also aware that persons may, again, will have received a good deal.
Right.
So if you're, let's put it this way. You purchase a 2015 Mercedes-Benz for $2,000. And you actually pay $2,000 for it. One of the things I say to the officers, you cannot say to the importer that you did not pay $2,000 for that Mercedes-Benz. Whatever the deal, whatever it is, whoever it is favored you to have sold you that car for $2,000, fine. However, for customs purposes, we have to look at similar goods, and the law provides that. Similar goods and looking at the condition of the goods, and then evaluation of the vehicle based on that. So unfortunately, whereas we may have paid $2,000 for a 2015 Mercedes-Benz, when it reaches the valuation, we may revalue based on similar or identical goods for $35,000. That's the basis.
I have an invoice that says retail value X amount and wholesale value some 4% less. And we constantly paying dues on that invoice at the retail value, and we are buying at a wholesale price. Are you saying that we shouldn't be any recourse in, there's no recourse in that? Because they're selling us at a wholesale price, because we are buying from a wholesaler.
Thank you, Mr. Karen, for that question. Everything goes back to the business registration and licensing process in Anguilla, because in actual fact, if you are a wholesaler, that's where we are doing the KYC. If you are a wholesale company, you also have to have the registration of your documents, our licensing has to reflect this. So if you are registered as a retailer, because we have to know who we are doing business with. All that helps with the valuation and the way we facilitate certain things. So if you purchase as a wholesaler and you can show to us that you are a wholesaler and you are buying these products wholesale from this company, and most wholesalers do also do retail.
I'm not saying that I was purchasing as a wholesaler. I'm saying I'm purchasing as a retailer, but the invoice says retail value X amount and wholesale value X amount, and I'm buying wholesale that I can retail.
And we do get that. We do get that often. And do get it. I think it's been low.
Good now. Go ahead.
You do get that. You said you buy as a wholesaler.
I buy as a retailer. I buy at a wholesale value.
Or you buy at a wholesale value.
I do get it at a wholesale value, but it has wholesale price, X amount, retail price, X amount.
And custom charge.
Custom charge me duties on the retail price.
The retail price.
Yes.
Higher price.
A higher price. The general price.
Let's do some consultation to ask instances of such. But you're a retailer in Anguilla. So once you're a retailer, they, as I said earlier, the funds have to be available to everybody. That's the price that customs charge.
It is available to all retailers.
As your retailer.
That price is available to all retailers.
But wholesale.
The wholesale price is available to all retailers.
It goes back to our premise in terms of our valuation methods in Anguilla, which is BDV. So if you buy goods at wholesale and they're sold at retail, you will use the retail costs for valuation. That's correct. I'm not understanding what you're saying.
Are you
saying if I buy it for $6, $5, and I'm paying duties on 10, some 26% duties on 10. What kind of markup can I put on that $5?
So you're buying, what are the things? So you're a retailer, you're buying the goods at wholesale price.
At a wholesale value.
Yes.
So that
I can retail.
Okay, Mr. I think I understand and I know what you're saying. And I think there's a little muddling of terms of what your business status is here. If I understand you correctly, when you purchase, you would have paid for those goods that price which is stated for the wholesale. Alright, and I understand that because never mind what your status is there, whether you're retailer, there's some quantum that you would have purchased, you would have paid the wholesale price. And you are saying that you purchased at a wholesale price stated, but when the goods arrive, because the retail price is also listed, we are charging you on the retail price. That is unfair. You know, it has been a challenge for us in the department. We have come across yes, and I know that officers of people. What I say is that we really need to do some more research and get a little bit more knowledge on that in terms of going forward. Because I think we see it even more complicated coming out of the UK. If anybody there's something called list price. List price, anybody over the UK? Right. And you have suggested retail price. Those are challenges to us. And we really need to have a conversation on it as Mr. Wilkins just in and comment, right?
I've been questioning for a number of years now.
Yes, Mr. Wilkins, that's why you're yes.
That's what we get.
That's what the chamber said, right?
Some time ago, the chamber met with the prior chief minister, with the governor, and with the prior comptroller of customs with regard to duty-free concessions on prescription medical goods that a doctor writes out a prescription for. Some of these are life-saving medications, and in the United States and in most municipalities, they don't charge duty on prescription medical goods. And the prior chief controller said at all of these meetings, we'll look into it and come up with a decision. And I'd like to know what the disposition is now with customs with regard to medical prescription items.
The answer to that, Mr. Barfield, is that it's, in terms of the rates of duty, they are still at the same place, because I hope you'll appreciate the fact that that's a policy decision, and the Customs Department executes what is done by the powers to be that are higher than us. If Parliament, Government, Executive Council in the first instance, and Parliament decide to reduce the rate or remove the rates or make them zero rated, then we have no choice, because we on our own just don't apply the rates of duty. We execute what is given to us. We can only be a part of the conversation. We are not the drivers of it. Again, your body, this body here, can agitate strong enough to government.
But it was agreed by the chief minister.
Agreement.
And it was agreed by the governor.
Yes,
now agreement.
That agreement needed to have gone further in terms of reaching Parliament, Mr. Barfield. And only then it would be. I don't know what's the most recent status of it, and maybe Mr. Barfield.
Thank you, Mr. Barfield, for that question. But there, as I said earlier, the Customs Department, we can only agitate and try to influence the decision of the policymakers and the decision makers. But I must give you an update, because some time ago, Lily contacted me about some data, and ever since that day, we've been contacting other countries to see what their policies are like and what they've been doing in regards to prescribed medication. And recent, I sent some trade data, statistical data, to the current Minister of Finance, Minister of Health, with regards to Chapter 13, 303, 304, that covers medicaments, prescribed medication. So I can't comment any further, but that's where we are with the conversation. We provided the data. I still have some data outstanding today, because I'm looking at three different countries, and how they deal with prescribed medication in bulk. But as it goes on, when you come through the borders and the customs airports are seaports, and you present your prescription for your medication, you don't pay any duties or taxes on those drugs.
Patients are charged duty on medication that comes in.
No, that's what I'm saying. When you come through the ports with your postal prescription and you present that to the officer, there's no duties that's collected on those prescribed medication.
The post office, what happens?
Duties are collected because, as I said, the policy is that duties are on tunable items. And you're bringing them in on behalf of your client, our customer, our patient. So the government is probably in a discussion. I can't speak any further, but we provided the data, and I'm in conversation with it, so we can move towards getting it rectified.
So what you're saying is, if it comes in to a patient from the post office, and
when you come to the borders with your prescription, when you come to the bar with your prescription and you present it to the officer, there's no duty collected on those goods.
I'm not talking about my prescription. I'm talking about a patient.
But when you bring it in for a patient, the goods are dutable.
A lot of these prescriptions for patients are very, very expensive. And it's a burden on the patient to even pay the fee. If they have to pay the fee, plus the shipping, plus duty, that's a terrible imposition on a patient.
Doctor, we are constantly in discussions with the Minister of Finance, and it's somewhat regrettable that the PS is not here today. But we have been advocating for this for several years.
So it's in the process?
It's in the process.
Okay. But it's been over 2 years.
And believe me, I hear about it all the time, okay? Next question, please. Come on, everyone. Could you identify yourself, please, so everyone can know who you are?
Oh, my name is Daryl Thompson. I'm the manager and designer at Allied Enterprises Limited, your local trophy plaque award. With regards to the question about retail, or the comments about retail and wholesale that were mentioned not too long ago, I know one of our biggest issues as retailers on the island, we are on our small island of 14,000 people, and we are in competition with large countries, the world, the United States. It's St. Martin. It's very tough and almost impossible to keep up with that because based on how their infrastructure is laid out in terms of doing business, it's a little more allowing than ours is. For example, just off the top of my head, now I always acknowledge, I don't know what you know, but just from my angle, I can only speak. St. Martin they have open borders, so they don't have to deal with a lot of customs duties sometimes. So therefore that allows them to provide cheaper pricing. I know of a lot of institutions on the island that will not come to me just because I'm more expensive than jumping on the boat, going to St. Martin, purchasing and bringing it back over and paying the duty on it. It's very difficult for me to be in competition with Amazon and Trophyland in Miami, whereas Trophyland can care less if they get our business in Anguilla because it makes no difference to them. Population, as we know, makes a big deal. It's a big deal to everybody's end. But what I'm saying is, simple little things like, as you mentioned before, do our homework, make sure we have our invoices printed. If we get a sale that is obviously open to everybody, let the customs agents know that so when they back check, they see that same thing. But we as wholesalers really cannot be treated like a retailer in terms of the duty we pay and all that stuff, because how will we ever be able to compete on island? What reason do people have to stay here and purchase? Because we're not depending on people to want to invest in their own economy. Now, I think everybody knows that if you spend your money in Anguilla, it stays in Anguilla, it goes in our banks, it circulates, and I'm a big advocate for that. And I do my very best to even spend a little extra dollar just to spend it here, because at the end of the day, if we all do that, we're going to do better in the country. However, there are times where we cannot do that. So what I'm saying is that if I am getting charged a retail price on something I paid wholesale for, well, that's next to impossible for me to ever create a competitive price. So what I have to end up doing is finding things that are not as quality, so that I can sell them at the same price someone is selling a quality piece for. And that is, they're never going to buy it from me unless I just hope that they didn't know. So now I understand, based on what you mentioned earlier, Travis, that a lot of that would probably be taken care of because you guys will have a nice idea of all of the wholesalers on the islands, and you'll know the companies and our suppliers, so that you will probably be able to contact them directly, and you'll make sure my pricing is exactly what they will provide everyone. However, what I'm kind of trying to understand as a wholesaler, as somebody who's purchasing wholesale, because as a retailer, you will purchase wholesale. And so what I'm saying is, as a retailer, every person who resells stuff will get that exact same price as long as you buy it from a wholesaler. So I don't know if that was very clear earlier. I don't think it was, because I think what you were mentioning, because there was a recommended retail price on the invoice, which most wholesalers will provide, I think you were focusing on the fact that there was a retail price there, and not the fact that as a wholesaler, everybody is paying the wholesale price. They're asking you kindly to maintain a standard of their products that you sell it at this price. So that's what I think wasn't very clear. But I needed to mention that that is something we really need to look into. I shouldn't pay 26% on something that I'm reselling, like, Jane goes and picks up from the post office, she's paying 26% on the same thing. I shouldn't have to do that, but that is all. Thank you.
Good morning.
Just 1 second. A couple of things here. A couple of years ago, the Chamber started this program where it encouraged its merchants on Separation Day to the 19th of December, that's the day when the island gets so light because of all the money that goes out of it. So we pulled and we encouraged a number of our merchants to come together and do some advertising for that day. It has been very, very successful. Because a lot of people don't like the idea of going to St. Martin on the 19th and coming back and standing out in the hot sun at Rockport and there's a full cadre of custom officers there that day doing their work. So that is one aspect. The other thing is education, as the gentleman said. We have to begin educating our people on the benefits of buying local, supporting local. And we recognize there are challenges, maybe in some pricing, but over time those things are going to be worked out. And the third aspect of it is that in my travels, and what comes to mind especially is the Bahamas. When you go to the Bahamas, and you are not from the Bahamas, they tell you, have a good vacation, spend a lot of money. But if you're from the Bahamas and you're coming from Miami, trust me, they are going to go through you like a fine-tooth comb. Here in Anguilla, we have a particular problem, and other customs face this. They will tell tourists to go, and then the local people examine. That becomes a big problem. No, but as a practical matter, that's the way it should be. Because you go to St. Martin to buy stuff that maybe you could have bought from our local merchants. So our local merchants have imported the goods, paid their duty, and it's sitting here on the store. So why should you get a free ride? We will never, as an economy, progress if we don't recognize those differences. But this is a conversation that the customs got to carry forward and educate people as to why they make the decisions they make. Thank you. Next question.
Good morning. I'm Nijeri Richardson-Carty, Registered Learning Educational Consulting and Services, but most recently I launched a nonprofit organization called Big on Learning. So I needed to learn some more information in terms of when persons want to donate. Usually persons, before setting up a nonprofit, persons would want to donate and send things, and they would, and I would just go and pay the duties. I have a company in Houston where I moved from that they're interested in donating school supplies by the barrels. I can't afford to pay the duties on those things all the time if I would like to send more. So what do I need to do in regards to the nonprofit sector when someone is donating? Do they have to write a letter? What exactly is the process in order to receive goods that can be donated out to the schools?
So thank you, Mr. Jerry. Most definitely, it's not unfamiliar territory to us. We don't, it's not a normal practice because government supports that type of social policy. All it requires is a letter to our Ministry of Finance, indicating that the goods were donated or whatever instance it may be, and it'll be processed from the Customs Department contact you to tell you exactly what you are required to do. But one of the expenses we incur are expenses, but you have to present a customs declaration. Because anything free, we want to have it documented. So for statistical purposes, ad purposes. So it's a process that we have been doing over the years. Once we know in advance, everything comes back to information and knowing in advance, so we can clear the goods on the road.
So then you would just suggest that I have them either itemized. I mean, sometimes it's new things, sometimes it's used books that can be donated. So should they just put used books, XYZ, or put a value, or how should they set it up to make the process easier for both of us?
Well, the government experts be itemized. Whether it's used or new, just everything be itemized, but the indication as to what is new, what is used. XYZ. But everything for, say, the PS and education is us, the Customs Department. We have worked on a policy to clear goods that are educational purposes, materials. So there are some things, once it comes in, it goes to the education planner. I know she works very tirelessly on that, and we are able to So that until that is adopted, so we can extend it to other ministries. So when we copy and paste the work of the Ministry of Education, so the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, and Youth Culture and Sports and Social Development. But once you make clear to the ministry, the education planner, you can speak to her, Mrs. Reed, and she will then contact us. I think that's what the policies there, and the goods will be good.
So even as a private, non-profit?
Yeah, for education.
Okay.
Education, because the Ministry of Education has an obligation to ensure that our persons receive proper education and Anguilla, I think, on each street. Don't quote me on that. I'm hoping that's the case. But there's a policy that's been drafted that must give kudos to the Ministry of Education and the education planner, because she took that step, and it's a step that we appreciate as a Customs Department, because there's no other ministry at this time that's going in that direction. And the Ministry of Education has taken the lead. And once that is adopted, we met with her on 2 or 3 occasions, myself and the deputy, and everything is finalized. So as soon as that's adopted, that is going to be an easy walk in the park for persons bringing in your industry goods and trying to donate it or whatever else need be.
Thank you. I have a question regarding
Just state your name so everyone will know.
Glenisha from Merchants. Regarding this classification of entries that come at the volume of it, I'm looking at the time, like say when I entry in say September 2015. Sometimes I don't get back that assessment saying that we had some misclassifications until this year. Where now that is gonna mess with all books coming that we have some and more to pay on this entry that was paid last year. How can we do that length of time to make it closer so we can balance ourselves out?
What you are referring to is our post-clearance checks.
Yes.
As I said earlier, it's humanly impossible, given our resources, to check every declaration upon arrival. So when your goods are clear, that's where I allude to the fact that the customs broker, is a key player in the process. So when officers in the PCA, the post-clearance audit unit, makes their checks, they get a hit about a particular shipment and realize that there were some goods that were not misclassified, they would then contact you at that point. And the law requires, as I said, help us to help you 5 years within that 5-year span. So to hold your documents, that's the window that we use for clearance checks.
Okay, I understand.
I understand.
But then with some places we don't have space to hold documents for that extent of time. Because as I think I deal with at least a half a year, 6 months, and then I have to get rid of, send it to the office or something. I don't have the space to hold for 5 years. Sometimes I do not even half a year.
I appreciate that in your comments, and I acknowledge that, because that's one of the things I said earlier, that I am aware that the challenge that you have is space in terms of the stock and storage. We have the same challenges in the Customs Department, and we have records for every business, and we have the same complaints. But in order for trade facilitation to truly work, there has to be some sacrifices, or there has to be a meet us halfway to make this work, because in order to get your goods cleared up on arrival, the government of Anguilla, the Customs Department, must have some medium to ensure that the goods were correctly cleared when they came into Anguilla. And so the post clearance audit check, where the law requires us, gives us 5 years, and Section 153 tells us that you, the businessman, have the responsibility to hold the goods for at least 5 years. So,
I'll just add something as a lawyer. You normally, the statute of limitations require you to have records for 6 years. The law contract. So over and beyond customs, there may be other reasons why you should keep these documents. And today, a lot of people are scanning these documents and keeping them as computer files. So there are lots of ways you can cut down on space and stuff like that, okay? Any more questions?
Good morning, everybody. I'm from Napa. My name is Kit. I just have a question regarding the training program that you mentioned a while ago regarding the college community. Is this under go right now? Because actually, I'm a broker, but also I need to learn more about the system. When we do the training in the Office of Customs, we only introduce how to use the system. But there's a lot of procedures that we don't understand at all. Like, for example, the lady earlier questioned about how can she deal with those donations, stuff like books and everything like that. In the system, there's a procedure that you can go to see the personal effect that will not go to give you duty to charge the product that you have, all products that you're going to receive in the island. So those kind of procedure, not a lot of brokers knows that. That in that procedure also you can see that the generator is only 5% duties, right? So not all brokers knows all those procedures. So if that training will be available to everybody, I know that you don't have schedule or you don't have enough manpower in customs to do a training again for customs brokers, but it is really very important for us to know every procedure in the system of us to the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. One of the things that the misconception, I would say that the training offered by the Customs Department is not one of which we train a customs broker. The training that we offer at the Customs Department is a usability training where we train the customs broker and the importers how to use platform as a reward. A customs broker is someone who should be equipped with knowledge as to how goods are classified. That they must understand how trade works. They must understand airway bills of lading. There will never be an instance where the Customs Department will train a customs broker. I think with the introduction of Ascuna Wall, that has been a misconception. What we will do is train you how to use the platform so you can find the HS codes, where you can find the CPC, which is the Customs Procedure Codes, and where you can link those on the declaration to clear the goods on behalf of your client. What we are going to do going forward, we currently have an officer in Jamaica, or two officers in Jamaica on an attachment. One is looking at the Ascuna Wall platform and systems for development, the modular development, and we have a supervisor looking at post clearance and the functions. So on the return, we are open to make some dynamic changes to the way we present information to the customs brokers. As I must say also that there's an email system within the platform on Ascuna Wall. And I am guilty of myself. When I see 3 emails, I just exit out. And that is something that we're working on in terms of communication, that how can we best reach you? And how can we respond to your queries in the most appropriate time? That is something that we are looking at. But we don't train customs brokers. That's not the responsibility of the Customs Department. We will train you how to use our systems. Recently we had a platform, RCS Regional Clearance System or YAT system. We invited agents to come in, but we trained them to use the system. But we can't train them to be an agent. We can't train them to say, wow, how to deal with their vessels. So the same will go for a customs broker. You have to have some level of understanding of international trade. You have to understand when goods are of the customs terminology. You have to understand what it means by airway bill. You have to understand what it means by bills of lading. You have to understand ship side. You have to understand these terms in international trade in order to be a customs broker. All we're going to do is to take your long experience as a customs broker and say, this is our new platform. If you're looking for the HS codes, you can look in box XYZ. If you can't find it there, you press F3. If you're looking for the CPC, Customs Procedure Code, which tells you how to clear the goods, either for direct home use, or for temporary admission, whatever the circumstance may be, we will tell you where to find those goods on the platform. But unfortunately, we will never be in a position to train you to be a customs broker. That will be disaster for trade.
Any further questions?
Just the computer said it would be a disaster for trade, but don't get too scared over that. Really what happened is that the manner in which customs brokers approach came about in Anguilla, like most other things, we have been playing catch-up. Other places, you have established mechanisms in terms of who are, what is required to become a customs broker, right? There are places where you have to pass a customs broker exam. The exam is just set, so you're tutored into it, really. And I think I differ a little bit here with Mr. Kat, because some of the tutoring is done by customs. But as it is now, what we do not do, we do not train, we are not at that level, we are not at that stage. Because there is a need to have in place a Customs Brokers Act, which we don't have. Other territories do have what you have the Customs Broker Act and the regulations, which states who and how do you become a broker. And as I said, examinations are set, and then you become certified like any other business where you need certification. So too is it with the customs thing. And I believe we're going to move here one of these days. We have been really playing catch up in Anguilla. So as a result of that, we found that a number of people just enter the brokerage business without any knowledge of it. They go and simply pay a business license and they are brokers. And we call a lot of them fly-by-night brokers.
So actually there is no test, no qualification saying that you are a broker?
At the moment, no.
I have a question. Mr. Comptroller, it has come to the attention of the Chamber that there is an increase in smuggling on the island, which is impacting the membership because obviously if the smuggler does not pay duties, and for the membership who do, you can understand maybe there's maybe a 20-40% difference at times in the price of the goods. Can you tell the membership if this is true and what you're doing about it?
Based on recent events, we are aware that there are a number of persons that bringing goods into Anguilla, smuggling goods into Anguilla for their own beneficial interests or to deceive the competitive edge on other companies. We've had two pending cases. Yes, we have two pending cases before the court for instances of smuggling, where we have recovered over 100 plus cases of alcohol. And we also have another matter pending for a significant amount of goods that was not clear to the customs protocol. And also a form of smuggling. What we are doing, we are looking at risk-based, intelligence-led approach. As I mentioned, our resources are very slim to none. So that's where we appeal to members of the chamber and anyone in the community. If you know of persons engaged in such practice, you can call us and let us know, where we can see if we can come to it, deal with it at hand. Persons also have the misconception that they can come to any beach in Anguilla and depart and discharge goods. The law tells us that, instructs us that all vessels arriving to Anguilla from international territory must proceed directly to a port of entry. Because there's a number of persons that claim we came to Anguilla and we have 24 hours to report. But as we progress with the Customs Act, you do have 24 hours to report, but you have to be within a port of entry. So persons engage in this activity. If you come into, let's say, the Forest Beach, and you can't tell us that you have 24 hours to report. It's not a port of entry. You come into San Diego, you come in after hours, it is quite clear. The idea we did was to deceive the government of Anguilla, Customs Department of Customs Duty. So we are looking at different measures to tackle this problem.
One final question. Is there a relationship between the increase in smuggling and the increase in duties over the years? Is there a correlation there?
Pay on the retail price.
I take this question over and above the comptroller because I would have, because I would have been in the department for a number of years. And if I can give a history of it so that you can understand. And a very good question from Mr. Lee. Some decades ago, when I joined the department, to be exact, in 1977, the rate of duty on a gallon of alcohol at the time was $15. It was said that during that year, 100 cases of whiskey was imported where the customs route, but whiskey was sold all year round in Anguilla. 1978, the government took it upon itself, taking into consideration, I believe, the scarce resources that Anguilla would have had and not receiving the duties that they would have liked from the importation. They reduced the rate of duty from $15 per gallon to $3.50. And the revenue realized in that year was much more than they probably got for the previous 5 years. That rate remained, and incrementally by small proportions it went up over the years. And over the last 5 years, we have had this hike in the rate of duty. And it may very well be that there is a correlation between the increased smuggling of alcohol products and the now rate of duty on there. And I think really that some cognizance should be paid to that, and maybe some measures to find a balance. No?
I hope I don't go too far off track, but we've been having quite a bit of problems at the port of entry recently, more than before. Which port of entry? Sandy Ground. Whereas if, to me, when I go there, like they're charging us. You could have a box marked 60 pieces. Tape, factory tape. Some of the tape has a factory name on it. Tear it open and come with 60 pieces. And that's happening constantly. I took 4.5 months to pick up a shipment one day. And I went to Tasha. And I did some of everything, trying to explain to the lady the way the things are on the entry. And they could always find something on there. Something in here that's not on the entry. And it's rather disgusting. On another note, maybe I'll target. Mr. They talk about what going on in the different government, you have people go sit down in the shop. I started out in the parents that you're the one that messed me up on it. Because I started to have a sale on that day. And I was doing very well. Now everybody's in.
Yes, Mr. Calvin, I know Mr. Hodge mentioned the business that we're in terms of verifying your items. Sometimes it may seem cumbersome to anybody as a matter of fact in terms of the rate of the ad. But I have done some research of late, and I found that the rate is not solely based on customs fee that's exports is not part of the operations in terms of dealing with export and then coming to the customs for clearance. Correct me if I'm wrong.
A good customs for clearance.
When
the customs are checking out what's on the pallet, they go through the box, they go all the way down to the bottom, open up, in one particular instance, 15 boxes, 16 boxes. And all I tried open one box, count 60 pieces in the box. She isn't sure that one box wouldn't have 61, so she had to open a second. And then I had an hour trying to explain her counting 50 boxes. So I take the whole pallet out, box by box, and count them there. 16 boxes. And now they try, she still count 17. And that's not a joke, it's a fact.
Like my counterpart said, it's a part of the verification process. I know it sometimes cumbersome in terms of your shipment in particular because you have a big shipment. What we are trying to implement is we are access to examination based on risk. So, whereas you have 5 boxes and that has to open all 5 boxes, we do checks in random boxes to see if they match up with your invoices. So, again, please allow me to apologize for that language you had in
How if a box is saying, this is a box of what kind of 6 pieces. There's no sign that that box was broken, the tape was broken. How could anybody think anything less than 6 pieces would be coming straight from the back?
It's still a part of the verification process.
It's still a part of it?
Yes.
Yeah. That's the part here.
Can I say something to Mr. Calvin? We had shipments coming to Anguilla, properly factory seal, and upon the examination. Nothing that is supposed to be in the box was in the box, especially when we had the electronic goods. And yesterday, same to you as Parcha. I don't know what commodity you're speaking about, but those items we did 100% to verify. The computers, sometimes they will just find the cards and nothing else, but the weight hasn't changed. Because some smart was putting a piece of wood inside the box, so it was having the same weight as though you find the product inside the box.
The boxes are factory sealed.
Factory sealed. Factory sealed. The time spent, as Mr. Francis said, we apologize for that. We don't know, but it's something we have to look into.
Thank you very much. I think. Let me just add quickly to that. This lady is always better than champion department. But the flip side to what your experiences would be, we have a number of companies, businesses that come to us during after the fact to ask us to sign on their behalf to say these goods did not come, they were short shipped, they were damaged. So it has to be twofold. And in order to seek a refund, have to have that process in its entirety. The customs officer, the release and examination officer are the one who have to sign and say, I have released 10 pieces, which means that 2 didn't come out of the situation. So in order to help you on the flip side, in case that some of your goods did not arrive to Anguilla, as Mr. Lee said, there were a number of factories, sealed boxes that came to Anguilla, and some of them came empty. We've had stuff come to Anguilla with nothing in it. And you had a container coming to Anguilla with nothing in it. And so we have to do those verification checks at different instances to protect you, to assist you, to ensure that when you do make your claim to the shipper, the carrier, your supplier, the customs department say, hey, these goods came to Anguilla damaged. These goods did not come to Anguilla. These are the goods that we received by issuance of a landing certificate of those things. And the only way thus far we can verify is through that examination that people don't be torturous. But on the flip side, it's one that will assist